Okay, welcome then to this session on supporting systematic reviews on the EBSCO interface, particularly for CINAHL and MEDLINE. So this is part one, the first of two parts. And in this 60-minute session, we'll look at the concepts of searching healthcare literature to support systematic reviews for the initial framework question, demonstrating a search using the PICO or PICOT framework, searching for keywords and subject terms. Again, this can be applied to CINAHL and MEDLINE. We use CINAHL as a demonstration in this instance. So we look at searching. Part two will cover how to process results using the EBSCO personal account, bibliographic software, if you're exporting results and so on. So we won't get onto that today, but there are a number of new things that I want to cover in this session that have been released recently, which I'm sure you'd be pleased to see. So for those who have not attended one of these webinars or met me before, I'm Richard Crooks. I work for the EBSCO Customer Training Services team. I'm based in the East Midlands in the UK and England. I'm a senior customer training specialist supporting yourselves, librarians, library services in the UK, Ireland, and also the Nordics on occasion as well. So originally, I worked in the NHS as a medical librarian and related roles for about 12 years. I've now been with EBSCO for about 14 years plus. So welcome to the session. So in terms of the objectives for this training, I hope that by the end of the session, you'll be able to describe the key steps in searching in support of systematic reviews, and I appreciate that many of you have already been involved in this for many years, and this may well be a refresher. You may have attended this session earlier this year and you want to see what's happened with the interface over the past few months. You'll be able to plan an appropriate search strategy using the PICO or PICOT framework. So again, we'll see more about that. And also you'll be able to save and rerun searches. So we'll introduce you to a new feature that was launched last week, which is now live and up and running. And also you'll be able to locate and use the methodological search filters and also find further support for EBSCO's research databases. And we're endeavoring, of course, through our document support team to release more documentation support materials in light of recent changes to the interface. But before we get on to that, just to set the scene then, what is a systematic review? I'm sure, again, most, if not all of you are well aware of this, but just to clarify with one definition here from Oakley and Fullerton, a review of a clearly formulated question that uses systematic and explicit methods to identify, select, and critically appraise relevant research, and to collect and analyze data from the studies that are included in the review. And you'll see I've highlighted the two areas that we were looking at, particularly today, in searching: the clearly formulated question and systematic and explicit methods for searching to identify what's out there in the literature. We won't get into the matter of selecting or praising references, as it were. That will be for another time, perhaps in the future. So in terms of that then, so the goal, of course, is to attempt to identify all studies, or you might say the majority of studies, that meet the eligibility criteria based on what's been presented to you as librarians, as searchers, etc., to find the relevant literature. And key points then regarding the search steps in terms of identifying what's out there begins with understanding the research question. So that may be based on a particular scenario, clinical scenario, but you'll have the research question that will then lend itself to creating a viable or suitable search strategy using a combination of keywords, that is the free text terms used perhaps by authors, researchers, editors, and so on, and also the subject headings, the authoritative control vocabulary provided by the National Library of Medicine for MEDLINE, in other words, the mesh terms, or for CINAHL, the CINAHL headings. And then, of course, we can enhance the search strategy with the application of truncation and wildcards, and also the use of precision operators, proximity searching, to find what's out there. So again, we'll look at all these elements in turn as we go through the initial introduction and then ultimately apply this in the live demonstration as well. So we do have a research question. Some of you would have seen this before if you attended this session previously. From time to time, I do update these and come up with some new questions, but right now we'll stick with this one. So in adult cancer patients experiencing fatigue, what is the effect of meditation compared with standard care on quality of life within 6 months? And you'll see I've annotated this research question with various elements that relate to the PICO or PICOT framework, which we'll get into in a moment. But I've also highlighted in bold there the key elements that I feel need to be addressed in terms of creating the search. So we've got adult cancer patients, so we're looking at a particular age group, as it were. So we're not looking at adolescents, not looking at children, pediatrics, and so on. These are those, not only do they have cancer, they're also experiencing fatigue. And then we're looking at the effect, the intervention of meditation compared with standard care, what would normally be done, if you like. And then the outcome being the quality of life, and then within a 6-month time frame, as it were. So this is our research question. We'll break this down into those free text terms, the subject terms, and we'll run this on the live interface in due course. So we are going to be using PICO or PICOT. You'll see this PICO framework has the added element of time or type of study as well. So the first element, of course, we've already kind of, I've alluded to this, is the patient population or problems. So adult cancer patients with fatigue. So they have an underlying health condition, and in particular, they also experience fatigue as well, and they're adults. Intervention, of course, meditation, comparison, it's with standard care. The outcome, of course, is with the goal to improve quality of life, and also within a 6-month time frame. Now, we're not going to search for all these elements. We are going to search for a number of them, particularly the patient group, the intervention, and the outcome. So we've got adults, that could be adult or adulthood, if you're thinking of the keywords, the free text terms. We've got cancer, otherwise neoplasms, oncology, tumor, malignancy, and so on. And then in terms of fatigue, it could be tiredness, could be lethargy, exhaustion, for example. And then compared to, or with the intervention of meditation, that could also be mindfulness or mindfulness therapy, breathing techniques, relaxation techniques, yoga, and so on. And comparison, we won't be searching directly for standard care. Outcome, quality of life, quality of living, well-being, and so on. And again, we'll omit the time frame, although that could be a type of study. So it could be a randomized control trial, for example, or clinical trial, etc. Now, the third row there, as you might guess, are the CINAHL headings, or what would be the current mesh terms, the MEDLINE. So adult obviously will be a subject group, a subject term. Neoplasms, that could be variations of cancer, of course. It could be specific cancers. It could be colorectal, it could be breast cancer in terms of females and so on primarily, although there is male breast cancer, of course, as well. And there's also fatigue and exertion. Again, these terms are in uppercase, are the appropriate subject headings that we would consider using and incorporating into the search strategy. And then for intervention, meditation, yoga, relaxation techniques. Now, this is not exhaustive. This is just a sample of some of the terms that you might use. And of course, inevitably, when you're running a search, unless you have done this many times, you've done many new iterations, you have maybe an oncology background, for example, then, or experience with meditation and so on, then you may not know all the terms you could be using. Certainly, with the mesh or CINAHL headings, you may not know what they are. There are ways to explore the indexes, we'll see. And of course, outcome, quality of life will be a key subject heading as well. So again, this will be the kind of breakdown of the various elements, the terms that we'll be using, the free text keyword searches, which are in italics in this table, and in uppercase, the equivalent subject terms, which obviously are more authoritative because they are assigned to articles about these areas of this PICO framework that you're looking into. So with that in view, just to clarify the way in which we approach the search for CINAHL and MEDLINE, so it would be, whether you're starting with CINAHL or MEDLINE or vice versa, or even another EBSCOhost database, for example. Some would feel that unqualified keyword searching is more important than doing for example, title or abstract search. So it is possible, of course, to search all fields within this interface. So this is a screenshot from the new advanced search page, and you can see all fields is the default setting. So by all fields, when you're searching CINAHL, it particularly refers to title, abstract, subheadings, PubMed ID, digital object identifier, and the author field. So all fields means you are searching as a keyword search within any or all of those fields simultaneously. So again, the term may appear in the title abstract, but not in the subheading, and PubMed ID may not be applicable, for example. But by default, behind the scenes, when you search across all fields, it's searching specifically within those fields. And then with MEDLINE, you'll see additional fields, for example, the registry number, the author affiliation, personal name, and so on. So we have got an FAQ there, which fields can be searched using the all fields drop-down list that gives you further information on that. So it will vary between the databases. So if you're doing supporting a system review, for example, on API sync info, again, there'll be other fields that will search simultaneously when all fields is selected on the EBSCOhost interface. So this is supposing you take the route of unqualified searching. With that in view, you also have to bear in mind the search mode, the search options that apply. So that will become apparent as we look at the search when we view the search history. But located within the search options tab, you'll see the search mode. So by default, in majority of instances for EBSCOhost users, proximity will be the default search mode. So proximity by default searches for terms in any order near 5 words or less. So for example, if you enter childhood near childhood obesity, it would find childhood near 5 words less of obesity, and obesity or obesity near 5 words or less of childhood. So it could be in any order. Now there is a caveat to that, because some organizations, particularly like the NHS in England, for NHS library services, this has been adapted for phrase searching where words are searched near or next to each other. So again, not near to each other, but next to each other in the order you enter them. So there is some tweaking that can be done, some configuration that can be done in the background in the EBSCO admin tool. So again, by default, proximity is the default search mode. It may be relabeled in your instance. It may be relabeled as phrase or phrase searching. So again, that can be done also in the other EBSCO, the other admin tool, which is the EBSCO Experience Manager. I won't get into those tools today, but there are ways which you can reconfigure the search mode. You can omit some of these, for example. Find all, by the way, is using the and operator between terms. So it's behind the scenes. Find any is using the or operator. So again, if you want more information on the search modes and how they apply, how they can be applied, what they're doing in the background, please refer to the context-sensitive help menu. Otherwise, you can go to the link on the slide deck once you have a copy of this. Another qualifier to this, when you're running an unqualified search, is the application of expanders to broaden search results in EBSCOhost. So if you are doing an unqualified search, not only does the search mode impact your search, but also the use of expanders. In this screenshot, you'll see we have the expander apply group subjects enabled, selected, and that means your term that you enter or terms that enter will be mapped to a concept. That in turn will be mapped to the appropriate index terms within the database, and you'll retrieve records based not only on the keyword search, but also the associated subheadings based on the concept of that search. Yes, so I got a comment here from Liz. All fields does not include the body text of the article. That's correct. There is another field code for that. So again, so all text TX is the field that you would use to search within the body of the text of the article as well. And unqualified search, what I mean by unqualified search, I mean that you are going for all fields. So you're not selecting a specific field, for example, all text, which is TX, or TI for title, or AB for abstract. Okay, so basically unqualified means you're searching the interface by default and based on the information provided in that initial slide there. So again, it defaults to all fields. Okay, so that answers the question. But TX is the field code. I'll show that when we go live in a moment to search the body of the text in addition to the basic citation. So again, there is a context-sensitive help menu which allows you to explore the expander and what that does, etc. Now, it may be that you opt to go for the more, you could say, traditional route, or more you could say recommended route of title and abstract searching. Since last year, for the new interface, we have the simultaneous title and abstract searching, the XB field code. So when you use this option, when you use this field code, as highlighted here, in this case for GORD or GERD or gastroesophageal reflux, it will search for those terms if any of those terms appear in the title or abstract field for the content in CINAHL or MEDLINE if you're using it on that database. Again, another caveat here is that if you're cross-searching databases, if you're searching CINAHL and MEDLINE simultaneously, the XB field code will not appear. You would then need to default to using title or abstract on separate lines. But this feature has been developed so you can simultaneously search the title or abstract fields within the given database like CINAHL or MEDLINE. Now, if preferred, you can prefix the query string, and I've got a different one here actually, XB there before you enter the terms, so you can do a command line query with terms as well. So again, whatever the search will be, you can use it either from the drop down, or if you prefer, you can enter the syntax as shown here. And again, we've got more information on simultaneous title and abstract searches on this platform. In addition to that, so that's the keyword searching. And if you're using the field codes, by the way, and I don't mean all fields, but the other fields such as XB, it will override the default search mode and also the expander as well. You can also, of course, incorporate the subheadings, and we now have the suggested terms feature available for the new interface. So that was launched back in April, I believe it was now. And that allows you to enter your keyword search terms, select the appropriate option to suggested terms, which with the classic interface has always been at the top. Now it's below the search boxes. That then will change the search button to suggest terms. When you click on that, you'll be directed to the index, as it were, and then you can explore the thesaurus to find the appropriate index term. Okay, so basically it directs you to the, in this case, CINAHL headings or MEDLINE, and this is MEDLINE example here, the mesh index, the mesh terms, as you see there. So suggested terms is a way to identify the appropriate headings, be it mesh, MEDLINE, or CINAHL headings. Again, we'll see this in practice as we look at that. And then you can add the term that you selected to the search and run a search to retrieve articles, items, etc. indexed with the heading, be it mesh or CINAHL heading. So again, we'll explore that live in a moment, but just to clarify also the use of truncation wildcards on the EBSCO interface. Some of these will be used more widely than others, particularly truncation. So you can use the asterisk wildcard to where you enter the root of a search term and replace the ending with the asterisk. So if you enter diabetes but omit the ES, etc., place the asterisk after T, you would find diabetic or diabetes as well. You can also use the asterisk between terms, between words, to match any word. So for example, ventilator pneumonia, with the asterisk between the two words would find ventilator acquired pneumonia, ventilator associated pneumonia. So for example, that's just one example there. For exact phrase searching, then use double quotation marks. So influenza vaccine is an example there, and that means you'll retrieve records with at least one occurrence of the exact phrase. Now, on the platform itself, it will highlight both terms, whether they're next to each other or not, even when using exact phrase searching. So don't be put off by that. By default, it just highlights both terms or how many terms you enter, but it will find at least one occurrence of an exact phrase. There are instances where there's hidden metadata from the publisher. So sometimes you may find records appearing and you may wonder, how did that get retrieved? And it may be that the phrase has appeared somewhere in another field that's hidden. The wildcard question mark can be used as a single or unknown character replacement. I've got organization there to replace the S or the Z. Another example would be analysis or analyses. If you replace the I or the E, you'll find both variations. And for alternate spelling, you can use the hash wildcard. So pediatrics, the hash after P before the E. For color, behavior after the O and then before the R. Again, more information is available on the EBSCO Connect support site, and the link is provided to the document there. And then we've also got the proximity or precision searching that you can also use to enhance the search. I mentioned the near operator, which by default is used for the default search mode for proximity search, but it can be used also within your query, within your search strings, as it were, throughout the search itself. And again, N5, near 5 words less, would find in this instance gallbladder near 5 words or less of disease, as well as disease near 5 words or less of gallbladder. So the number is literal. Some platforms, for example, when using ADJ5, that would be 4 words or less, not 5 words. But with the EBSCO's platform, it is a literal number. So near is regardless of the order that the terms are entered, whereas within is more restricted because it's in the order you enter them. So going back to the previous example I mentioned at the beginning, childhood W8 obesity will find childhood as the term, the free text term, within 8 words or less of obesity, but not vice versa. Multiple terms can be used on either side of the operator. So you see an example there with flu or influenza vaccine. So flu or influenza in parentheses there, near 3 words less of vaccine, and I've truncated vaccine. So I could find vaccine, vaccines, vaccination, vaccinated, vaccinations, and so on. So again, I can combine the truncation with the use of the proximity precision operator in that example. Now, I also want to mention this went live about a week ago, actually it is a week ago today, the use of search sets. So now it is possible to save your search history as a search set. So we'll demonstrate this today in this session. So there's now a new button above the search history to save the search set, and this saves all searches within the search history as one set in the order you enter them. So it will save up to 200 searches. That means up to 200 search sets. So you may have S1 to S200. It could be S1 to S100. It could be S1 to S20. So up to 200 will be saved as a search set now within the interface. We'll look at live once we've run our search. So the search set is saved, is a saved search history essentially from one browser session. So a set of searches are saved together as one search, as it were, and the complete set is designated line by line, as it were. So a list of search sets will be located under a new tab called Search Sets in the EBSCO saved area. So that in the default save folder, you have records that you can view, save records and save searches. Now there are search sets that you can view. You can sort them by the creation date or alphabetically, and also names and descriptions can be edited from the list of search sets, and search sets can be deleted as well. So yes, Liz, I need to come back to that question about the selecting certain search lines only and save as a set rather than all of them. I may be possible. I've not tried that yet, but you can certainly select. You don't have to select everything. My understanding, it will save the complete set automatically, but I need to check that. So what this means is then you have the ability now to rerun the entire search history, keeping the set order intact, as it were. Okay, so we'll see this. So what we'll do is I will run through the search, the demonstration, applying what we've already looked at today in terms of the sample research question and the search strategy, and then we'll look at saving and rerunning it. There are some elements of saving which we'll cover, of course, in part 2 when we look at processing results as well. So again, I may not get to the questions during the rest of the session until the end, so please save them. Bear with me as I do that. I'll focus on the demonstration now. I'll switch to the screen. So in a moment, you should see the new interface. And I'll also point out some of the changes that have now taken place as of yesterday as well. So again, there's a lot been happening in the last week or so. So for those of you who have seen this before or been on a session before and may you already have access to this interface, you'll notice some changes if you've not been on it since yesterday. The first thing, of course, is the top toolbar. Now, notice the navigation is at the top of the screen, no longer on the left-hand column. So that's been marketed for some time now. It was launched yesterday as scheduled. So we have the Browse By feature, which allows you to view the publications. So you can click on that and it will take you to the publications page. I won't spend time on that. Likewise, you can jump to some headings from this option as well, and you see the headings below. And also under Research Tools, you'll see a link to EBSCO Connect, which will take you by default to the Quick Start Guide for EBSCOhost. So it gives you more information on the variants of searching, browsing, using the dashboard, using tools, and so on. Okay, so it takes you to the Quick Start Guide by default. Another element here to bear in mind that's changed also, if I just click New Search, it'll take us back to the Advanced Search page. So I've got this as my default landing page. Some of you may default to Basic Search, but generally speaking, I think most user groups will be going to the Advanced Search page. Certainly within the NHS organisations, HSC in Ireland, but some of your academic organisations may also be defaulting to this landing page, as it were. But we've also got the translation option, so the language, so you can view the interface in the preferred language. So if you have students, for example, or staff where English is not their first language, maybe they've recently arrived to work in the UK, for example, or to study, and they still get familiar, getting used to the language or exploring, want a comparison, they've got the options to view the interface in any of these languages, as you see there. And then finally, with MyEBSCO, you see the MyEBSCO area. I'm not signed in yet, but you can see the projects folder is here now and saved and recent activities. So these formerly were on the left-hand column. They've now been aligned here with this MyEBSCO area. So again, some changes that have been mandated that are there by default now. They cannot be changed, by the way, so they are there to stay, and it's based on, again, user feedback and also future enhancements to the interface as well to facilitate that. So, okay, so let me just now begin to run this search. And by the way, just to let all fields here, I mentioned in response to Liz's question about all fields. So you've got all fields here, the default search, and all text would be searching within the citation and also the body of a document as well. So that searches within the full text specifically. Okay, We have got, by the way, the search options below. You can see here, proximity is the default search mode, as I mentioned in the PowerPoint. And then we have the link to documentation here from EBSCO Connect if you want more information on those search modes and what's being configured for you. There's some more coming. And you'll notice now we're now describing natural language search as AI-assisted search. That has not yet changed on this page here, but that will change in due course. We won't get into the AI-assisted searching yet in this session today. I will cover that in other webinars. And also to mention, regarding searching within full text records directly, there is an expander to search within the full text as well of articles if you need to do a search within the body of the text in addition to this option as well. So by default, we come to this page and we'll make use of some of the advanced search features, as it were. So to begin with, as we know, the search relates to adult cancer patients. So I'm going to start a search for adults. I can search by filters as well. There are filters to search for adult groups, but bear in mind, they are based on the subject indexing of records in CINAHL and MEDLINE. Therefore, if any article is not fully indexed, we call that pre-CINAHL in CINAHL, then those headings would not be assigned. So I'd say a safeguard really is to perform a keyword and subject search for the age group, population group, rather than depend solely on the filter, although that could be used in other contexts, as it were. So to begin with, then we'll just put in adults here. I will truncate this, which will be adults and adulthood. I'll also add grown-ups as well, grown up. Okay, I might truncate that. I'll just add that on to this and put it as a phrase as well. Again, you could put, it depends on the age group. You can put aged or elderly. So it depends on the actual group that we're looking at. I'll put aged or elderly as well. Okay, so we may not be stipulating an age just yet on this search, but we can put in those. So there's more I could do, but for the sake of time, I'll keep it to this group, as it were. I will then select the drop down for the title abstract search. So search for these terms within these fields simultaneously. So if I click search here, okay, so once that's brought up, you'll see the search history, and there's a new thing also to notify you of here. You'll notice this if you've been using this interface recently. We now have the ability to put the filters on the left-hand column. So this is not mandated, by the way. I know for the NHS in England, this is the style they're adopting. For others of you, you still may have the option to open up the old filters on the right-hand side of the screen. I thought I'd show you the new look today. So again, it depends on yourselves, on your users, what works for them. So in this example, I've configured the interface to display the filters now on the left-hand column. So this is optional, whether you have these filters on the left or collapsed, and that would open on the right side of the screen. That is, again, something which is managed in our EBSCO Experience Manager tools. Again, we can provide more information on that, but again, you may want to consider that, whether that's an option you prefer to see or otherwise. Now we have the search history, which is currently collapsed above. So if I select the arrow here, you'll see that displayed, and we've got our first search set, XB, with those terms. The search options are still displayed, but they are not applicable when using the field codes, likewise with command line queries. And we have the database indicated CINAHL. We have a save ribbon, which means you can save a search set. So in terms of saving elements, we'll look at that again based on what was asked previously. You can save individual search sets here if you need to. And the tools or kebab menu gives you the option to edit the search, add to project, which is a custom folder, or delete if you need to. So if you duplicated a search set, you can just delete it from here. So that's the first search set. Now we are going to define the equivalent subject group or subject heading. So to do that, I'm going to just add adult here. Okay. And I'm going to use suggest subject terms. So if I select this option, and notice at the moment on the right side of the screen, the button says search. If I select suggest subject terms, it now changes to suggest terms. It's explicit to the user, to yourself, what you're doing when you click this option. Before I do that, there is a little I button here. It gives a little description of what this feature is about. So essentially, it means EBSCOhost, in other words, CINAHL in this case, will search the subject terms authority file based, with your keyword search term, and suggest subject terms you can add to your search. So again, it's a way to identify what the subject term we should be using. So if I click suggest terms now, it will take me to the CINAHL page. I can then run the search for adult and see there is adult here. I can even, just click on it and you can see the scope note for this, used for adults as you would expect. And I can see the tree view for this within the CINAHL hierarchy of terms as well. And you can see here, I've got aged as well. So I can include aged here for the other group and so on. And if I click the upward arrow there, I can click add to search and add these two terms and click search here, and I can factor them into the search history. So basically what it means is now that search, the subject search, is included in the search history. So that's set to S2, and I can combine these two sets together, use the Boolean OR here. And then once I click that, I can then click search to combine the two sets together in one search, which will be set 3 or S3 in the search history. You will notice, of course, that the search is displayed in reverse chronological order. You can resort by clicking the ID option, and now you can see the sequence where we are with this. Okay. So we are looking at, of course, cancer patients as well. So that's the other element we're going to look at now. So what I'll do here, I'm going to start entering my terms. So some synonyms here, synonyms, not cinnamon, cancer, cancerous, etc. I can also add neoplasms. I can add malignancy. Okay, so I can truncate that for malignant or malignancy. I can add tumor with the hash wildcard, and also, let's see, yeah, that's it for now, I think. Neoplasms, okay, and then again, I can search for these terms within the title writer field and click search here. So that'll be the kind of the second part of that, because we're looking at adult, of course, we're looking also at adult, not only adults, but cancer patients, and also got meditation with fatigue. So we'll also explore that as well. So we're now on to cancer, the cancer topic. So what we're going to do here is also explore, I do it in cancer here, the suggest subject terms option. Again, suggest terms. And then you can see here, I've got use neoplasms. And then I can select neoplasms. Again, you can see the scope note, what it's used for. So it's used for cancer, neoplasms, tumor. So this is the index term, the CINAHL heading. And then you can see the hierarchy below with neoplasms selected and also exploded as well. Notice the explode column is now after major concept. There's also the option to use the subheadings if you prefer as well. So for example, familial and genetic, etc., diet, therapy, and so on. So it depends on the nature of your search, whether you want to qualify that index search with the appropriate subheading. And again, you would use this in a similar way with the with MEDLINE, with the mesh terms as well. So I can add to search. I can retrieve records now with this index term. So I can then combine that search with the appropriate keyword search, which is S4, S5, and group them together. Okay. So that is now adult cancer patients, but of course we know from the search query, the question, they also experience fatigue. So we need to factor that in too. So what we'll do here, we'll also do a keyword search for fatigue and related terms. So fatigue, okay, or we'll put in exhaustion. So it could be exhaustion or exhausted. So again, truncate, also lethargy, lethargic, or tiredness or tire. So I'll put tired, I'll put tire. Okay. And we'll run it on those terms specifically. Again, within the title abstract searching, again, you leave on all fields if you prefer to do the unqualified search. Again, I come back to some of the questions as we go through this. So we've got, that's the keyword search. We'll find now the equivalent subject search. And again, you don't have to use suggested terms. You can just literally go to the set headings here, browse by, go to the headings, but you do have to clear the screen at the yellow area above and this one as well. So I prefer using the suggested terms. I think it's a bit easier to use, a bit more, less cluttered as it were. But what I can do here, I can find fatigue, for example, browse the thesaurus here. Choose fatigue. Again, you see the scope note stating feeling severely overtired. You've got fatigue here. And then you can include exertion as well, by the way, as a related heading. And then look below for any others. Of course, cancer fatigue is also included in fatigue as well. So again, we might want to include that as well. And then we can jump to the top, add to the search, and search for these terms. Okay, so again, the search history is opened up. You can hide the search history, by the way. You can just collapse it when you need to focus on your search results. The other thing you can do here now with the new search history and the enhancement is to look at a set of results. Now, these are in some cases, the millions or hundreds of thousands. But if, for example, you want to look at S7 results specifically, you can literally click on the number, which is hyperlinked. It's under results column. And that will allow you to view those results specifically. Perhaps you're looking for other terms through the abstract or through the subject fields, but you'll see that corresponds now with this group of results, but it doesn't add another set number here. So we can go back to the current set we've got already. So again, you can explore the different hit counts for each of these set numbers in the results list below, but without generating another set on top of what you have already. And of course, we are on S7 and S8. We'll group those together with OR and click search. So I've essentially covered the patient problem or patient or population group with those three sets of terms. So adults, cancer, and fatigue. So what I'll do now, I'm just going to resort also. And then I'm going to combine these together. So S3 is the adults, S6 relates to cancer related terms, and S9 relates to fatigue. So when I group these together in one search, and come on with AND, you'll see the sets combined together using the AND operator as selected, and click search here. So once I've done that, that set result will be displayed below, which is now S10, so over 9,000 records. So that's the patient group only. Now, of course, we are going to explore meditation. So again, we're going to start with a keyword free text search. So again, we can use truncation here. So meditate or mindfulness or breathing techniques. It could be, so it could put breath, breathing, or yoga. And we can use double quotation marks for guided imagery also as another term as well. So again, we can use these in our search for searching within the abstract, title or abstract simultaneously, and then click search. I'll also show you where you can edit search strings as well, because obviously there may be typos. I know I've done this in demonstration before. There are some typos I need to correct. So whether it's a single line search or combined search, you can edit that now in the search history. So I've got those terms. So let me just do the next search and we'll look at editing in a moment. So I will now search for the equivalent subject terms. So again, I'm going to go back to using suggest subject terms. So if I put in meditation here, okay, and then select suggest subject terms, click suggest terms, and then I'll be taken to the appropriate heading here. So meditation, I can click on that term. So this is CINAHL heading. Of course, you may have an equivalent in MEDLINE for mesh, and then select meditation. Again, you can see this is here. Okay, meditation. Okay, and we've got other elements here. For example, we've got guided imagery here as well. We want to include that one. Meditation there. Guided imagery again selected there now. And if we look at others, okay, relaxation techniques, perhaps we can use that one. And also, if we scroll down, yoga as well. So we're going to include these also. Jump to the top of the screen and click add to search, and you can see each of the subheadings, the subheadings that have been selected. Again, you can identify this through the syntax, the MH, which is the exact CINAHL heading, and that's also shown in the drop-down menu as well, as you can see here with the various field codes indicated with the description. And we have the explode option for yoga, which includes related terms as well, narrow terms as well. So where you see the plus sign, it's been exploded, and now we run the search for this. So obviously we're retrieving records now indexed with any or all of those terms, depending on the nature of the article or item indexed. And then we can combine the two sets, which is S11, S12 in one set with the Boolean OR. Again, that's designated at the top of the screen. Click search, and we've grouped that together. So that's the intervention, and as we said, we're looking at the outcome. So it's compared to standard carrier, which kind of you could say is implied. So what we'll do now is the final element of the PICO element that we're looking at today is the quality of life. So for that, I'm going to use precision operators as well. So what I'm going to do here is put in parentheses, I'm going to put in quality of life or quality into life. So it could be life quality or quality of life. Combine that with QL as the abbreviation or acronym. Then well-being could be one word, or it could be two words. Again, being and two wells. It could be well-being or being well, etc. So if I'm satisfied with that, it could be, so yeah, we'll leave it as that for now for sake of time. So I'm going to select title abstract and run the search for these terms as well. Oh, sorry, there's one more I want to add. In fact, let me show you how I can do this. So I'm going to run this now, but I just realized there's another term I want to add. So I'm going to run this search now. Okay, and you'll see it displayed in the search below in a moment. So it's coming up now, it's just loading on screen, and you can see at the top of the screen, which is S14. So just run this search. Now, I realized there's another term or terms I wanted to include, so I didn't do that initially. So rather than delete it, which you can, of course, from here, I can go in and just go in and edit the search details, click edit search, and then I can go in and add or living into quality. So quality could be quality of life, could be quality of living. Now you can obviously, with more iterations, you can render this differently. Once you've explored it a bit further, you may get some further advice and change it, etc. But I've just added this extra these two search terms here, and I can update on this screen, click continue, close this down, and then you'll see the updated search string in the search history. So I just selected the edit option from the tools menu. Again, you can do that for combined search sets. So for example, S10 here is S3, S6, and 9. If, say, for example, it should be S3 or etc., then I could go in and edit this. I won't do that because it is correct, but if I go to edit search now, you'll see we can make this change with these combined sets, and you can see the dependent searches are also impacted by this as well. So just show that. And if you've made an error initially and should have added or rather than and for both, then you could just change overwrite the and in both cases with the or, and then update the search, and it will be adjusted in the search history, and that would also adjust the whole search history itself. So again, you can edit single lines or combine searches within the search from the search history itself now. So the final thing you want to do in relation to this search is to look at the quality of life in terms of a CINAHL heading. Again, the equivalent would be mesh. So if we go back to the top search box, add quality of life, and then we can search with statistic terms and select the appropriate element. So quality of life is here. We can select this. Obviously, cost of living is not really applicable. You can see the hierarchy of the tree view here. So this sits under social sciences, of course. And you can see quality of life there. So it would include comfort, occupation, quality of work and life as well. Okay. So if we're happy with that, if there's anything else there, no. And we'll just jump back, add that to the search. Again, the syntax is presented with the MH fill code and then the plus sign. So it includes comfort as well. And then run the search. And as you might guess, we'll combine the two in the search history. So S14, S15 with the Boolean OR, and click search. So having completed that, so with those elements of the patient, problem, or population, the intervention, and the outcome, of course, for this in relation to the research question, then I've got it 16 lines here, and I can use the ID option to click on that and resort. So you can see the sequence now. We've got the set number, we've got the search strings, search options, which are by default are shown, even though they do not apply directly here. The results are hyperlinked, so you can jump to any one of these result sets and view those. We have the databases or database given, of course, it's CINAHL, and you see the save ribbon. So you can save, it's interesting what was mentioned earlier. So in theory, I think the question was raised, can you save specific search sets? Then I could, in theory, select these ones. Okay, as you can see, the save ribbon allows you to save specific search sets. Okay, and if you wonder where they're saved, they're now saved under my EBSCO in the save folder. And if I go to search, see searches. So it is possible to save specific search elements rather than the whole lot. So again, you can see that there, and there are unsaved icons. Basically, you can unsave all these if you wish, by the way. I've not signed into my EBSCO personal account yet, so you would need to sign in here if you want to save this beyond the session itself. Okay, so again, it's possible to do that with the save ribbon there adjacent to each line or each search string, as it were. Likewise, it is possible to go in and delete a search string, but it will renumber the sets as well, by the way. So if you delete S14, it won't suddenly jump S13 to S15, it will be renumbered, so S16 becomes S15. Again, I'm going to resort that there. Now, I might also note, of course, I now need to combine each of those three elements that we looked at. So for the population group, adults who have cancer, experience fatigue, that would be, let's see now, S10 combined with S13, which relates to meditation, intervention, and related terms, and then the outcome being quality of life, well-being, and so on for S16. So I've got these three sets. I want to combine with the Boolean and S10, S13, S16, and click search to generate a result list set, as it were. Just mindful of the time here as well, so I'm going to hopefully bring those up in a minute. They should appear soon. So S17. So we've got 251 records here now saved, and they are displayed below, and you can see the terms highlighted in yellow in the title that relate to the searching, the keyword searching. Also in the abstract, you can see the terms in bold, such as yoga, quality of life, cancer, QOL, fatigue, and so on. And then you have the subheading. So by default, the abstract is collapsed. Some instances, some organizations prefer to see it up front. It can be defaulted to that in our admin tool. And again, you'll see subject fields. Now this one, as you note here, doesn't have, actually it does have there, sorry, just click on it there. Yeah, it does now display the subheadings. Again, guided imagery was selected, neoplasms, quality of life, well-being, and so on. Again, these are picked up in bold, and they're highlighted in bold there, as you can see. Okay. So you can see that displayed in that order. And they are sorted by relevance, by the way. You've got default, you can change to the most recent as well if you prefer. Clinicians often may want to see the most recent records. Maybe they're aware of some articles already, or even the reviewer. But again, at this stage, you may not be obviously so concerned about the relevancy or the latest, as it were, as opposed to finding what's out there, as it were. And of course, with this search string, we can also, or this search set, we can also apply filters as well. We have got language only, English language, if you want to default to English language, and also the publication date. So if you're looking at the past 10 years, or if you want to be more specific, there's a date range where you can enter the year or month and year, but we'll go for the last 10 years in this instance and apply. So we're applying English language, articles, items, indexed in CINAHL, published in the last 10 years. Okay. So now 159 references. Okay. Again, we're going to talk more about processing results once we've run the search in the next session. But I wanted to highlight, and I did mention this with the, let's see now, I know we got quite a lot to cover still. So just to mention the search sets. So we covered that in the slide deck, but just to highlight this. So if you want to save this as a search set, you can now do that. the options to save searches. Again, you can select the complete set here. You can use the save icon to save each of those search strings in the save folder. You can download the search history here with the download option, and you can see a choice of PDF or Word, CSV if you prefer to have a table, which you can then edit in Excel. Those options are available as well. And in addition to that, you have the search set. So what you can do now, you can actually select Save Search Set. Notice it's prompted me to sign into my EBSCO account, so I need to do that now. So I could have done that from the outset. If you have EBSCO single sign-on, as they do in NHS England, you would be already signed in via Open Athens when you've authenticated into CINAHL, MEDLINE, and other databases. So it does give you the option to give a name for this. So we'll call it Adult CINAHL. Let me just add that here. Adult Cancer Patients. Meditation. I'll just call it this for now. Okay. So, and I'll put 07 as we're in July, 0726. Okay. Description is optional. Again, could be some, it could be for a department, for a person that you're supporting in terms of this review. And now I'll save this. Okay. And I'm not sure why it's come up with that, but if I click cancel here, I will go to my save folder. So if I go to my save folder here, so by default, any save records will be shown here once you've signed in, so they can be saved previously, but we'll cover saving in the next session. Searches, likewise, we looked at that earlier just now, and then search sets are displayed here, and unfortunately this one has not been saved. So let me go back again and see if I can do that. So maybe in the order I did this in, to be honest. It has been working up until now. So let me just do this. So I just resort this and sort it in the sequence. So I'll select these sets and save the search set here. Again, I'll try again this time with a different, let me just go for this one. And I'll leave it as that for now and click save. Okay, and you see the search set is now saved. So if I go into my save folder, my name there, and you will see records, so search sets I want to look at, and you can see now I've got adult cancer patients and meditation. So I've got two saved search sets. One was previously I've run previously yesterday, and notice you can sort them alphabetically as well, by the way. So again, alphabetically, ascending, descending, etc., or oldest if you prefer. And then if you go into the search set itself, you'll see how it's saved. Okay, and I can resort again. I can still download it from here if I wish, but I can now rerun the search set here. So if I click rerun search set, it will display in the search history. And as you see there, so we have the search history rerun as it was run just now. Now, one thing to note here, unlike Classic, which would, when you rerun a search, it would often rerun on the search history that's displayed currently. Although I didn't clear my screen, it's rerun over that, as it were. So it's not adding that same search to the previous search, so you end up with like S36 as a line, for example. It's completely replaced what I had on screen. Okay, so that's possible to do that. And now it is possible, of course, to clear the screen completely. Not only can you delete lines, you can also delete the entire search query here. So if I go in now with the delete option, I can now delete and clear my screen. Okay, but as with the Classic interface, we always mandated or advised that you would clear the search history before rerunning a search set. That is no longer needed. Okay, so what I'm going to do here, I'm just going to jump back here a minute. I might just jump back to Medline and then just go to the PowerPoint here, because I know we're going to stop sharing, and I will touch on some of those questions in a moment. So I'm going to go back to my PowerPoint and just remind you of some other options that you have available as well. Comment on the question here, do you have to use quotation marks for phrases? So for exact phrases, you do need to use double quotation marks. Okay, so that's That's important you do that. Obviously, if you use the W operator, for example, W0, it will essentially search for words as they appear in the order that you've entered them. I'll come back to the other questions, but again, a reminder of what we search for. Now, in this example, I didn't include the age group. I opted to apply the filter for age group, but again, the principle is that you've got the various elements of PICO included here. For those who are new to CINAHL MEDLINE and not so familiar with the syntax, we do have these help sheets which detail the syntax, the use of field codes like XB, for example, use of wildcards, some examples of how you would use them on these databases. So these are available on the EBSCO Connect support portal, and there's a link to them on this page as well. So I just wanted to mention the search filters. So it may be that the initial searching is just scoping the literature. You may need to look at what's been done before, for example. So you have a couple of options here. For CINAHL, you have the evidence-based practice filter, which allows you to limit results that are retrieving articles that are from evidence-based practice journals or about evidence-based practice. They could be research articles, which means systematic reviews, clinical trials, meta-analyses, again, to see what's been done before on that topic, and also commentaries on research studies. So simply, it's a filter on the default landing page for evidence-based practice that can be applied to your search string or to your search query. And likewise, EBM reviews is also an option within the filters panel within the default landing page, but this time it limits your search to the following six titles: the Cochrane Database of Systematic Reviews, ACP Journal Club, Clinical Evidence, Evidence-Based Mental Health, Evidence-Based Nursing, and so on. So essentially then, this limiter is valuable because it limits your search to a small set of titles that apply very strict criteria and therefore include high quality evidence-based content, including systematic reviews. So again, these can be applied from the landing page. And then there are clinical queries filters. So there are these 5 for CINAHL: therapy, prognosis, review, quantitative research, etiology. And for each of those 5 research areas, there are 3 strategies. So if you're looking at the broadest search to include all relevant material, but may include less relevant content, that's high sensitivity. If you're, on the other hand, you're looking at the most targeted search to include only the most relevant results set, then you've got high specificity, but then you've got the best balance between the two as well. So that's for CINAHL. And to give an example of the search strategy that sits behind these clinical queries, you'll see they're clearly designated, and there's the FAQ on the EBSCO Connect portal, which details the actual search syntax used to find therapy-related articles, whether it's high sensitivity, high specificity, and so on. Likewise, with MEDLINE, there are now 9 research areas covered, again with those 3 strategies. So again, you've got therapy, diagnosis, prognosis, plus you've got cost economics as well. And again, if we take an example here of diagnosis, then you see the corresponding search strategies for each of those strategies for that research area of diagnosis. Again, so you're not just selecting some random option within the EBSCOhost interface. There is a strategy behind each of these areas, and those particular strategies are designated there. Okay, so I think because of time, I won't demonstrate that, but I wanted to mention that obviously one of the big efforts at EBSCO with the development of the interface over the last year or so is to, be compatible with PRISMA guidelines, etc., with the PRISMA checklist. Again, when you're obviously identifying or clarifying the methods for searching, the information sources and the actual search strategy, and you can see today how that's been enhanced over the past year or so, and then recently with the additional search sets as well, and the search history, which displays. If you don't see that where you are, it needs to be enabled in EBSCO Experience Manager, by the way. So just some take-home points before I touch the questions for those who can stay. Use PICO or alternative frameworks. Some may be more appropriate for your query, as it were, to construct the search strategy. Use, obviously, free text keyword search terms combined with the subject headings. Again, it may be an unqualified search, may not be a title object search, as I've shown you today. Use save search sets now to save and rerun searches. You can save the entire search history and rerun that in the sequence that you entered it. Okay, and then, of course, you've got the EBSCO syntax as well. Again, the help sheets are available for that. And also consider the methodological search filters as well, which I'll just introduce you to. Again, I've included some support materials. I've also now included the how to use search sets feature that was published yesterday, I believe it was. So that's brand new, just to underscore the search sets feature now, which is live and can be used, along with other elements there that you may want to explore, including editing searches in the new interfaces as well. And of course, EBSCO Connect is the main support portal for this content as well. So you can explore that at connect.ebsco.com. And we do have the healthcare training resources portal, which includes webinars. So this will be posted on the EBSCO UK YouTube channel. Once I've edited it, you'll get a link to that, but I'll post it on the YouTube channel, which you can access through training videos there, and also upcoming training sessions. I am going to be scheduling some more for August. So again, you can advise colleagues of that. And we do have more support information available there, which relates to CINAHL, MEDLINE, and other healthcare resources as well. So I might just go back quickly to look at some of the questions I may not have covered. Okay, yeah, so Liz just qualified saving. Can you select search lines only and save as a set rather than all of them? So you can save certain set search lines, as it were. Okay, and can you duplicate a search set to use as a starting point for a new search? I think if you rerun the search set, you can go in and edit that. You can go and edit the search strings, or you can go and remove elements if you need to. So I guess that would operate in the same way as duplicating a search. In other words, you would rerun the original search and you can go in and edit that. So again, I think that you could do it in that way, as a workaround, as it were. Okay, any other questions or comments? I appreciate there was a lot to cover. Again, you're the first group that's seen this, by the way, that I've shown. So again, search sets is pretty new, and the navigation only changed yesterday. So again, these are new features that are live for the interface, and we are just about a week away from migration. So if you've not switched to the new platform, it's due to take place next week. Okay, so Bill just said, would you recommend using mesh headings with CINAHL? So I would, obviously, I've been referring to CINAHL headings. So CINAHL headings is the appropriate indexing for CINAHL. Mesh obviously relates to MEDLINE. So they both originate from the National Library of Medicine. So there are maybe some slight differences, but generally speaking, if you're going to be searching at this level in supporting assistant review, you would search the databases individually. So obviously, if I demonstrated a search on MEDLINE, I'll be defaulting to mesh terms, medical subheadings with CINAHL, and look at CINAHL headings specifically. But again, a combination of the keyword searching and then the subject searching. Keyword searching obviously means you're literally looking for those terms as you enter them, but it also means if an article is not indexed in CINAHL, likewise with MEDLINE, you would still find that reference. If you rely solely on the mesh terms or the subheadings, you may well miss out some key articles which may be in process, they're pre-CINAHL, they're not fully indexed, although they are available within the database. So I hope that makes sense. Okay, so I appreciate your time today, and I hope that's been useful as a useful introduction to the way the interface looks now. Again, more to come. We'll be obviously running these sessions now periodically throughout the summer and beyond, and obviously adapt to them as any more changes take place. But these are the major changes that you should expect to see by the time you switch next week. These are already in place. Okay, and part 2 will cover some additional features which I didn't show you today, which I'm sure you'll be pleased to see as well. So again, if you haven't signed up for part 2, do so, and you'll see more that's been released recently. Thank you.